Welcome to your Friday math lesson. So a huge thank you to you guys, and also a huge congrats. I've been looking over the homework submissions that I've been getting and uh, everything that I've gotten from you guys, and you guys have been doing a really good job, and I've been seeing some amazing work from you guys, and I'm incredibly proud of all of you for the amount of work and time and effort that you've been putting in. So we're going to go over a few of the questions from the homework. Today is our review. And then our lesson today is going to be based on balancing equations. Personally, it's my favorite unit in algebra. It's super easy when you get the hang of it. And today we're going to just do simple balancing equations because we have to get into using integers, fractions, and decimals as part of balancing an equation. But for now, we're just going to work with some easier numbers. So the first part is, let's do question number, let's do question number 6. Carlos and Brandon had P pencils and E erasers. They combined them and split them equally. So one has P pencils and the other has E erasers. They combined them, so when they combined all these things that they have, they just added them all up together. So if they had 5 pencils and 5 erasers, they combine them together to have 10 pencils and erasers. Then they divide them equally. So in this case, I actually have to put a bracket around the pencils and erasers because I have to add up the pencils and erasers first. Then I can divide it in 2 to divide it equally. But you have to remember to put a bracket around it because otherwise, if I just put P plus E divided by 2, because of BEDMAS, I would just divide the erasers in 2 and then add the pencils, and it wouldn't work properly because it has to be divided equally. So that's question number, I believe that was question number 6. Okay. Number 7. Mason's mom bought G number of games online. The games cost $12 each plus a $7 shipping fee. So she bought G number of games and each one cost $12. So $12 times the number of games. So I put 12G plus $7 for shipping. I don't have to multiply the times 7. All I do is add it onto the amount at the end because it doesn't matter if she buys 1 game online or 300 games online, that shipping fee is going to be $7 either way. So you just add that $7 onto the end of it because what you need to multiply is the number of games times how much they cost. So that's number 7. And for our last one, let's do number 8. So number 8 is very similar to number 6 because we have Haley and Mia. So the question was, Haley and Mia's dad said if they combine the money they've saved, he would double it. So Haley and Mia need to combine their money together, first of all. So we put H plus N, but we put it in brackets because we need to add them together first. Then their dad said that he would double it. So let's say Haley had $5 and Mia had $5, put it together, and then dad would double it, meaning it'd be multiplied by 2. So in this case, you just have to really remember that you have to put Haley and Mia together in a bracket for adding their money together, and then multiply it by 2 to double the amount of money they had together. So that's a little bit of a review for some of the questions we've been doing. And now we're going to go into balancing equations. So let's look at a word problem for practice to start off with. Then we're going to go through a list of equations and we're going to try to balance them out. So our first problem is Rowan is planning to mow lawns for a summer job. She wants to earn $910 to buy a new guitar and amplifier. She needs to earn $230 to pay for the lawnmower and about $100 to pay for the gasoline. she plans on charging $15 per lawn. So for this first part of the expression, normally when you have balancing equations, you're given the expression. In this case, I made it peek through, but essentially it's $15 for the cost that she charges to mow a lawn. So $15. We don't know how many lawns she needs to mow, so we put an N because it's $15 times the number of lawns mowed. We don't know how many lawns she has to mow, so we just put the N there for now. Now we put the equal sign because we need to figure out how many lawns she has to mow when they cost $15 per lawn. Over here, we're going to put all the money she needs to make. So she wants to buy an amplifier for $930, plus she needs to pay for the actual lawn mower, so that's $230, plus $100 for the gasoline. So how much money does she need to earn? At the very least, she needs to earn $930 plus $230 plus $100. So that gets us to $1,260. So she needs to earn $1,260 at $15 per lawn. To figure out how many lawns she needs to owe, we have to work backwards. So we have to move numbers from one side to the equal signs to the other. And that's what it means by balancing equations. Imagine it's a scale. With one side being the answer and one side being the equation. So this is our equation, which gives us one side. Now we have to make it balanced, so I figure out how many lawns she needs to own on the other side, and it has to balance out. So to do this is I move numbers from one side of the equal sign to the other. However, when you move numbers from one side of an equal sign to the other side, you have to do the opposite operation. Okay? So if I was multiplying on this side of the equal side, because I did 15 times n, if I move it over to this side, I have to now divide, because you do the opposite. So if I was adding on one side, I subtract on this side. If I was multiplying on this side, I divide on this side. If I divided on this side, I have to multiply. So opposite operation. So in this case, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put n on its own. So we have to figure out what n equals. So n equals 1,260. It was multiplied over here. So if we bring it over to this side, we divide it. So 1,260 divided by 15. Because she needs to earn $1,260 altogether, if we divide it by $15, which is the amount that she's charging to mow a lawn, it tells us how many lawns she needs to mow. So 1,260 divided by 15. So 1,260 divided by 15 equals 84. $84 lawns. So n equals 84 lawns she needs to mow. And there we go. So our next section is, we're going to do a couple of these problems right here. We're going to talk about switching up numbers. These numbers are a little bit nicer to work with. Keep in mind that sometimes you won't always have whole numbers as your result. Sometimes you might have decimals. I don't remember if any of these have decimals, but we'll walk you through them. So let's do A first. So 2m minus 3 equals 31. So I'm just going to go over here. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out what that letter m stands for in this problem. So let's do, first of all, we're going to write out the equation. So it was 2m minus 3 equals 31. So minus 3 equals 31. First step to balancing out an equation is look at your outlier number, as in this 2 is attached to this m. It's right beside each other. It's harder to separate that 2 from the m than it is just to take this minus 3 and put it over here. So you take your outlier first. So if it's something like 5h plus 2, take that plus 2 and move that first. So if you're adding and subtracting is on its own, move that over first. So take your outlier. So now we have 31. We're going to move minus 3 over this side. But remember, if it's minus 3 over here, it's going to become plus 3 over here because it's the opposite operation. So I take 31 and I add 3 to it. Okay, because I minused it over here, I plus it over here when I bring it over. So now I have 2m on its own. So 2m equals 31 plus 3. So 2m equals 34. My last step is to put m on its own. So I need to get rid of this 2 somehow. How I get rid of this 2 is I bring it over here, except I was multiplying it, so it's 2 times m over here. It becomes division over here, because it's the opposite operation. So now I have to do 34 divided by 2, because I was multiplying on this side. I've gotten this 2 and I've moved it over here. That means m is now on its own. M is equal to m is equal to 34 divided by 2. 34 divided by 2 is 17. Yeah, 17. So m equals 17. The way to check to see if you're right is to plug the answer that you get from here into your original equation. So I had 2m minus 3 equals 31. 2 times 17 minus 3 equals 31. 2 times 17 is, I remember I have to do BEDMAS, so I have to do it in order. 2 times 17 is 34, minus 3 equals 31. 31 equals 31. So this is the whole balance part of the equation. I know I got it right because if it's 31 equals 31, I know my equation is perfectly balanced. So that's one problem. Let's do a couple more examples. And that's going to be your homework today, is going to be balancing equations. So basically finding out what that letter stands for in an equation. So pretty easy once you get the hang of it. And today we're just going to be doing simple balancing equations before we get into, more complicated things like introducing fractions, decimals, and percents. Or not percents, integers. All right, balancing equations. Let's do D. So D equals 214. 214 equals 6n plus 19. So let's write that down. 214 equals 6n plus 19. So you guys have probably noticed that sometimes your final answer will be on this side or this side of the equal sign. It doesn't matter which side it's on, because when you move one number from one side of the equal sign to the other, you're still doing the opposite operation either way. So if I'm moving it this way or this way, it doesn't matter. It's the opposite operation. All right, so now we have 214 equals 6n. First step is our outlier, so the plus 19. Because it's easier to deal with this plus 19 than it is to do the 6n right away. So 214, if it was plus on this side, it's going to be the opposite, which is minus. So 214 minus 19, because of the opposite operation, is equal to 6n. So 214 minus 19 equals 195. So 195 is equal to 6n. Our last step is to get rid of this 6. If I was multiplying it on this side, it is going to be divided on this side. So I take 195 and I divide it by 6, and now I have n on its own, which is exactly what I want. So 195 divided by 6 equals 32.5. So 32.5 is equal to n. How do I check to see if I'm right? I take 214, take my original equation, and plug in the number I got for n. So 214 equals 6 times 32.5 plus 19. 6 times 32.5 equals 195 plus 19, 214 equals 195 plus 19 is 214. So my equation is perfectly balanced. And that's how you do it. So the questions you're going to have for homework are going to be very similar to this. It's going to be a two-step equation, as in usually a multiplication or division, plus or minus something, like these equations are right here. The answers are already going to be given to you. So all you have to do is move the numbers from one side of the equal sign to the other to get that letter on its own. Once that letter is on its own and you've solved everything, it'll tell you what that letter stands for. You can double check by plugging that number into the equation. If it equals the same number on both sides of the equal sign, you know it's perfectly balanced. So that's the whole balancing part of balancing equations. So that's that for Friday. Pretty simple lesson, I think. Let me know if you guys have any questions whatsoever. As you've noticed, I am pretty much available at all times. It may seem like I never sleep, and that's pretty much true. So you guys have noticed that sometimes I'll even answer questions at like midnight, because for some reason, I don't know why, I'm still up. But let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. If you guys do want a video because you have a question that I'm trying to explain over email and it doesn't quite make sense to you, let me know. Just keep in mind with the video responses or doing a few practice questions over video. More than happy to do it. It's just sometimes I may not be able to make it right away and send it over to you right away because I might be in a staff meeting, or I might be having to deal with something else going on, or I might be in the middle of filming a lesson. So something like that. But let me know. And I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Remember to do something for yourselves, even through all this time of uncertainty and having all your schoolwork and everything at home. My challenge to you guys is do something fun for yourself. Work on a puzzle or do some sort of a hobby that you really like, and do something fun for yourself. Because I know even for me, I get so caught up in online learning that I forget that, I forget to do things that I like doing and that I want to do during my free time. So make sure you're setting aside some time to do something for yourselves. All right, thank you guys so much. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.